Every morning at 7 a.m., Sophia sat on the last bench in Central Park with her sketchbook. She liked it there, quiet, tucked away from the main paths, kissed by the soft rustling of trees and early morning birdsong. It was her haven, her ritual. But what truly made the space sacred wasn't the stillness of the park or the beauty of the light. It was him. The man with the dark green coat. He passed by at precisely 7:07 each morning, a paperback in hand, eyes scanning lines as if the world around him barely existed. He never looked up, never paused except once to tie his shoe, and never seemed in a rush. He was as much a part of the morning as the sunrise itself. Sophia had started sketching him casually. A quick outline of a man mid-stride. The curl of his hair just peeking from under a beanie. Then the arch of his nose. The intensity in his brow. Before long, page after page in her sketchbook became his silent portrait, each drawing slightly different, capturing something new, the way he smiled faintly when reading a funny passage, or how he tilted his head ever so slightly to the left. She didn't know his name. But in her mind, she called him Greencoat. For 3 months, she documented his presence from afar, until the morning it all changed. She was mid-sketch, adding shading to his scarf, when his footsteps slowed. She didn't look up at first, afraid that hope might trick her, but then his shadow lingered across her page. "Is that me?" he asked, his voice warm, amused. Sophia's pencil froze. She blinked up, eyes wide behind her glasses. There he was, close enough to touch. Greencoat in the flesh. She nodded, cheeks blooming pink. "You're my favorite page." A pause. A smile. He sat beside her. His name was Michael. He was a literature professor at NYU, newly returned from a teaching stint in Edinburgh. His walk through Central Park was part meditation, part ritual, he said. To remind myself the world still moves slowly somewhere. They talked for 20 minutes that morning, Sophia stumbling through her words while Michael listened with quiet attention. She had always been more comfortable with lines than language, but with him, conversation began to feel like sketching, organic, curious, filled with detail. The next morning, the sketchbook stayed closed. Because her favorite page had become real. Their mornings became sacred. 7 o'clock on the last bench. No coffee, no phones, just conversation. Sophia told him about her freelance illustrating, how she loved drawing people who didn't know they were being seen. Michael shared stories of authors he admired, books that broke him open, and poems that reminded him to feel. Soon, Sophia began sketching other things, his hands when he spoke, the way he tilted his head when listening, the bend in his coat where it met the wind. One morning, Michael brought her a book. Letters to a Young Poet. Inside the cover, he'd written, "For the artist who sees what others miss." Sophia kept it tucked in her bag, like a secret only her heart knew how to read. Then, one Tuesday, Michael didn't come. Sophia waited. 7:07, 7:15, 7:30. No Greencoat. She brushed it off, maybe a meeting, a cold, a late alarm. But the next day, the bench was empty again. 3 days passed. A week. Sophia still came, still sat, still waited. She found herself opening the sketchbook again, not to draw him, but to remember him. His sketches now felt more like memories than images. Had she misread it? Had he simply moved on? The doubt hurt more than the silence. 2 weeks later, a note appeared. Tucked beneath Letters to a Young Poet, now resting on her sketchbook where she had left it on the bench like a monument to what they'd shared, was a folded paper. A handwriting she didn't recognize, but it was addressed to her. "Sophia, I owe you an apology. I should have said goodbye, but I didn't want to make it real. My father had a stroke. I left for Boston the morning I missed our bench. Everything moved fast. Hospitals, family, the kind of chaos that makes you forget to breathe. But I never forgot you. You once said you like drawing people who don't know they're being seen. I think I fell in love the moment I realized you did see me. I'll be back on the bench Friday at 7 o'clock. If you're there, I'll take that as a yes to everything." Friday arrived with the faint smell of spring in the air. Sophia hadn't slept well. She was terrified he wouldn't come, or worse, that he would, and she wouldn't know what to say. She wore her softest scarf and carried no sketchbook. Just the book he gave her, tucked under her arm. At 6:59, she sat down. At 7 o'clock, she looked up. There he was. Same coat, a little thinner, tired eyes, but Michael. She stood, he smiled, no words were needed. They walked together, slowly, into a morning that stretched out like an unwritten page. From that morning on, they no longer met as strangers or quiet companions. They met as something more. What began as fleeting glances and silent sketches grew into seasons of love. Mornings turned into weekends. Park benches turned into coffee shops, bookstores, gallery walks, rainy days under one umbrella. Sophia sketched him as he read aloud on Sunday mornings. Michael underlined poems he said reminded him of her, gentle, observant, deeply human. Their rhythms intertwined two quiet souls who had once only passed each other like shadows in early light, now anchoring each other in something solid and real. 2 years later, in that very park, beneath the same tree where they first spoke, Michael knelt down, not with a grand speech, just a quiet smile, and asked her to turn a new page with him. She said yes with tears in her eyes, her voice soft but certain. They married in a small garden surrounded by ivy and open sketchbooks, her veil fluttering like a turning page in spring. And every anniversary, they returned to that bench at 7 a.m., not out of ritual, but remembrance. Of a girl who sketched a stranger. Of a man who walked with a book and never looked up until he did. Of a love that found them both in stillness. And so they lived, softly, fully, with hearts wide open.